It is the Real Estate 360 show.
Yes.
And who do I have sitting next to me?
I am Mr. Jason O. Miles, hashtag the real estate trainer.
And this is Steve Connolly, hashtag unemployable. And we are taking you from the show to the pro. And our topic today is a continuation of last week's, which is multifamily.
Yeah, multifamily operations in particular, once you've got the deal.
Yes.
Right? But house cleaning or housekeeping, listen, I want to thank everybody for listening. I love it. I love it. Everyone that has reached out to get the multifamily checklist, thank you. Thank you. You should have those. Anyone who doesn't have one and wants the multifamily checklist, which is just a checklist of things that you need to ask for when you're underwriting your deal or a potential deal for yourself. And also thanks to everyone that has gone on iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, liked our podcast and listened to our radio show.
Right.
So thank you. Thank you for engaging with us. We really appreciate it. We really love it.
And they can watch our videos on the realestate360show.com
That's
site.
Right. That's
and
right.
also access our next seminar or any of our seminars for that
We got one of
matter.
those coming up.
Yes, we do. It is January the 18th from 10 to 12. Location you will find when you click on the button on our homepage.
That's right.
And we are going to be talking about in that seminar how to pay your bills as you're building wealth in real estate. So if you want to really, dive deep into the real estate business and you want to know how do I survive, while I'm trying to build equity and values and cash flow and all those things, how do I make a living?
Yeah.
That's what we're going to be talking about.
Absolutely. And, just to touch on that, I always, having been around the country as we have and meet all these people, it doesn't matter where they are, from New York to California and everything in between, everyone has the same, not exactly the same goal, but, people want to make six figures.
Absolutely,
right?
Yeah.
How do we make $100,000 a year? How can we get to that, if they're not there? And if they are there, they always, it's what's next, what's next, what's next. But for the vast majority of people that we are talking to when we're out there on the road are people that are trying to get to that. That's their first step. How do we make $100,000 a year?
Yeah.
Well, in this event on the 18th, that's exactly what we're going to talk about, because you want to create wealth, but you have to create an income. You gotta eat.
Absolutely. And, the cool thing about real estate and what keeps me, totally interested in it always is there are multiple ways to create $100,000 a year. So if you're really good at searching out and finding values, there's a way for you to make $100,000 doing that. If you like to do rental properties, maybe not just your straight rentals, maybe Airbnb or maybe your regular rentals, or maybe you want to do lease options, or there's just tons of ways to do this. And we're going to cover that.
Yeah, we're going to go through all that because you can do it. And
right.
it all boils down to making $8,333.33 a month, except for 1 month, you have to make $8,333.34 to actually break that six-figure mark.
So you got to really stretch that 1 month.
Yeah, so. that's you've really done something when you
right.
that month. But it matters, right? If you actually want to make it, just like we've got young Cody that we work with, right?
Yes. Oh my gosh.
Young Cody had, he'll tell people, hey, I had my first $100,000 month. I had my first $100,000. He made $98,000
on this,
on a month. In a month. He made $98,000 in 1 month. He didn't quite make his $100,000 mark, but in his mind, he made it.
I call that close enough.
That's right. And then we come right back around the very next month, and he doubled it.
Really?
He more than doubled it.
So he more than doubled his $98,000. So he made over $200,000.
Yes.
That's amazing.
Yes. Yes.
So,
and that was in, I believe, November.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
And he's new.
He is new. This is his first year.
Yeah.
He hasn't even completed his first year yet. His first year won't be up until next month, February.
We got a various number of students, and some of them have made, quote unquote, made a decision, but really haven't taken too much action, or they're dragging their feet a little bit here and there. I'm talking about.
Oh yeah.
Cody's not that guy.
No, he's not that guy.
He made a decision and he jumped in full force, and he doesn't play around.
No.
He's there to make a big success for himself.
And that's exactly what he's doing for himself and his family.
And that's all it is getting some information. Does he know everything?
He doesn't know. He knows how to do two things.
Out of all the lists that we're going to go over on January the 18th, he knows two things.
Yeah.
And that's it.
That's it. Well, technically three, but we had to recently walk him through that third one. And that was the subject tools.
He doesn't know that yet.
No, he's not really there yet. He still needs a little bit of help with that. But he'll have that in no time at all. But he's been using simply just two techniques.
Yeah.
And that's what it's done for him. But like you said, he made a decision. He committed to being successful. And he also committed to making sure that he put other successful people in his immediate circle, however that plays out. Right. He's constantly wanting to meet with us, and of course we're working with him now, so it's totally different. But what he's getting from us at this point is basically, not just how to do more, but how to scale it.
Right, exactly.
So, and that's just a big plus, because we're not the internet guys. We're not the guys that are going to tell you how to, wholesale from Oregon all around the country.
No, not really.
We're not those guys. We're guys that are actually building businesses, creating relationships with people, and helping them achieve their goals as we achieve ours.
Exactly.
Going down, so that's and really that's what it's all about. That's what it really all boils
I'm on
down
board
to.
with that.
So you can't listen. If you're the only one at the table that can afford to pay for dinner, you're doing something wrong.
Yeah, that's for sure.
You're doing something wrong. You've got to help other people achieve their goals. Because we know what we want to do as individuals. We know what we want to do. But if we're really honest with ourselves, we know that we can't get to the next level without a little bit of help.
Man, we need all the help we can get.
That's right.
And but we're also pretty good at recognizing where we can bring people in and who to bring in, and managing the resources.
Yeah.
That's really what it is.
Yeah. And also understanding that it's this constantly evolving organism. It's always changing. It just is what it is. And if you see the greatness in someone and they don't see it in themselves, we can't push them. You can't push them to be that person that you see them to be.
Right.
Because they can't do it until they're ready. Bottom line.
That's exactly right.
Bottom line.
So now, is young Cody's his goal for next month to make $100,000?
No, Cody's goal now is he realized
actually $100,000 for the year.
No, Cody has realized that when he set a goal, he surpassed it every time.
Right.
So now his first goal was to make $25,000 a month.
Okay, that's a good goal.
It took him a few months, but he just blew past that at that 98. Right, but that was his goal. He did it a few months. He fell short a couple months, but on average, he did it and then some on average. But he wants to do that every month. But then he hit the 98 and he said, I can do 50 a month. And I'm like, well, why not just do 100?
Yeah, really.
And then when he did the 213.
Wow, that's good. That's a good
He
month.
said, you know what? I realize now that my goals aren't big enough. So he has a goal to do $500,000 a month.
That's amazing.
Now, is he going to hit that?
Well,
maybe.
He probably will, because you just said he always, supersedes his.
If you don't ask for it, you're never going to get it.
So what if he fails miserably and only makes $400,000?
Exactly. Right. Exactly. Right. Or what if he just does the same as he's done before? Maybe he makes 100 or 2.
Yeah.
These are real numbers. I mean, now we're talking about making 7 figures a year here.
Yeah.
And he's doing it in what is typically a slow time.
And a small market.
Yeah.
And we can't say where that is.
Yeah. Exactly. You know what I mean? But I digress. So January 18th, these are the things that we're going to be talking about. I know We've spent a good bit of time talking about that here in our first
every
segment.
second, you know, at least from our point of view. I'm excited, man. What are we going to be? I can't wait to get to this seminar.
That's right.
You know?
I mean, listen, right now is the time that everyone is, you know, they've got their New Year's resolutions, you know, they're getting ready to do their taxes. If they haven't gotten them already done and submitted, they're just waiting to get that check to do whatever they're going to do with it. Yeah. I suggest that you invest some of it, maybe pay down some debt, you know, a little of that stuff. You know, there's plenty of time to party later on. You know, don't go buying cars.
No.
You know, do the right things with this money that you're going to get back. Invest in yourself. Take advantage of this new year, this new energy, and do something for yourself that will not only help you, but help your family, you know, your children, your bloodline, your legacy. You know, start to build those things. Now's the time.
Let's talk about that more a little bit on percentages of income and distribution, where you should do with that after the break.
Sure.
We'll Buy Your House. Click 833willbuy.com. That's 833WELLBUY.com.
Or call 833-WILL-BUY.
Se habla español. Llámanos. Call us today.
Okay, it's Real Estate 360 Show. Steve Conley, we're back.
We are back. We are back. I am Jason O. Miles, as Steve has just eloquently pointed out.
Hey, if I'm introducing myself, you need to introduce yourself again. But listen, before that break, I said something about, you know, how should people allocate their money? And, you know, you were talking about education in particular.
Yes.
And a lot of the old guys that I listened to as I was coming up through this, and, you know, I'd go to all the seminars I could afford, or I could get in for free, or whatever, you know, or like ours for $20, you know. And what I kept hearing a lot was, okay, out of 100% of what your income is, take 10% and give it away.
Mm-hmm.
Take 10% and save it, and take 10% and reinvest it in yourself in education. That still leaves you 70% to live on, spend, you know, buy groceries,
pay taxes,
you know, all that. And if you do that, then you'll have a well-balanced life.
Yeah, one of the things that I put in there is 10% for entertainment as well.
Okay.
And I do that because, listen, if you don't enjoy it, why have
Doesn't that come into 70%? Or do you want a specific 10%?
Well, yeah, just for entertainment. Now, you know, okay. I'm a family man.
I like it.
I'm a family man, so I like to do stuff with the children.
Right.
So, you know, if I make $3,000, you know, not in every case, of course, right? You know, because, you know, we have some pretty good months. I'm definitely not taking 10% of that to spend on entertainment. But you know, but for a realistic number, right? If I make $5,000 a month,
right?
You know, I may not use the whole 10%, but I'm going to do stuff with the children. I like to, you know, take them out to a decent place to eat, or you know, and it's not always. I mean, sometimes we're just going to the dog park and having ice cream. You know, it could be whatever, but I like to be pretty consistent with it and not have to worry about, you know, how we're going to cover this. So I budgeted for it when I was coming up. You know, I budgeted for those things because, you know, if you don't take time out for yourself and your family, even when you're trying to get it, you turn into this beast, you know, this workaholic, you know, and it's just not who you want to be. And it's really easy to fall into that rut of just working because you want to get ahead or achieve a goal.
Yeah.
And that's fine sometimes, but you can't be like that all the time. You have to enjoy the fruits of your labor.
Yeah, and if you do that all the time, then, you know, your kids stop talking to you.
Yeah.
Your wife stops talking to you, you know.
Yeah.
And you know, you get up and you go to work and you go to bed, and that's it.
Yeah. All of a sudden, you're watching your children do things. You're like, wow, when did they start doing that, or why? You know? You got to be there. You got to be there.
That's right.
So, and that's just what that is. But, you know, you want to make sure that you're investing in yourself, paying down some debt, but invest in yourself.
So you only have 60% now to live on. Is that right? Because I'm taking
less than that after taxes.
Less than that after taxes.
Right.
So call it 48% or 40%, or depending on whether or not you own multifamily or not. then you can kind of wipe the taxes out, right?
That's right. I mean, you're not gonna once you've taken care of your life, the rest is just icing on the cake. But
Right.
it all boils down to time and money management. Time and money management, because we all have the same 24 hours.
Yep.
And there are people that are extremely productive in those 24 hours, and then there are people that aren't, and they don't achieve their goals. And that is a choice. And it's something that most people have to actually work on. It's not enough to just make up your mind. You have to follow that up with action. You have to do it.
The time management part of it can be pretty simple if you really if one just focuses on doing the things that matter. Because I've fallen into the trap of looking at my emails, way too much.
For most people, it's Facebook.
Or Facebook. Facebook is not my problem.
That's right.
But I said, wow, why am I looking at these emails again? What am I looking for here? I mean, I've checked them like 5 times. That's enough. Stop.
Yeah.
And so what I do is I do a T-chart most every day. On this side are the things that I'm going to do, and on the other side are the things that are on my list.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe I've actually appointed the universe to take care of them for me.
Right.
So you over there handle that, and I'll do these. And you'll be amazed at how many of the things on the right side of that chart the universe is supposed to handle, how many of those get done.
Yeah. And really, we can go on and on that.
Yeah, we could.
Because that is the absolute truth. It has to get done somehow, some way it's going to get done. That's going to be the case. But you have to prioritize and do the things need to be done first.
Right. And
for some people, they feel like, well, they put this on the back burner. That's not the case at all, because a priority, you and I do a lot of stuff together.
Yeah.
And
we do a lot of stuff together separately.
Right, exactly. But we prioritize the things that we have to do. Sometimes we do have to drop everything and be like, okay, Steve, Miles, we got to shoulder to shoulder, got to handle this situation.
Right.
And then everything else slides to the side because it's that important. And then there are situations where Steve might have to do something else, and then something that I thought was important got pushed to the back, but we know we have time. And vice versa, that happens.
That's
It's not a one-way street, but we communicate that stuff too. Sometimes we forget a thing here or there.
Yes.
But there's like a million things to do, right? So we do everything we can to make sure that everything gets done on a daily and weekly basis. And we work very diligently to achieve our monthly and quarterly as well as annual goals, which for the past 3 years we've surpassed.
Oh yeah.
We've surpassed. And and next year's goals, or this year's goals, I
coming
should say.
Up for 20. Yeah, this year's. That's right.
Because how many people are still writing 19 on their paperwork, whether it's a check or an application?
About a week ago, I wrote 2020 on something, and I said, "Oh wow, how about that?"
That's right. That's right.
Oh, it was a lease. That's what it was. A new lease for one of our new tenants.
So speaking of that,
yes,
as an operator,
mm-hmm. Yeah,
you are now an effective multifamily operator.
I'm getting there.
It's one of your badges.
Yes, sir.
Right. How is that going for you? I mean, what are your likes and dislikes? Where do you see the pitfalls, and what do you do to overcome those things? What are you seeing in that space as an operator? You've gone through the whole process of finding it and closing it. We've done that.
Right.
Now it's operations time.
Well, as I mentioned in the last show, we went through 2 real estate company professional property management people, and they both quit because they couldn't handle this particular property.
They can't handle the truth.
That's right. And so, 3 weeks after the last one quit, it was like, oh, I had an epiphany, a realization that I'm the manager, of this property. So I said, okay, what do I do? We're talking about a really challenging property. If a professional real estate company resigns because they just don't want to handle it because it's taking up so much of their time.
Right.
You know, what am I doing, you know?
Yeah. But I think that's the benefit too. I mean, we knew what we were buying.
Somewhat.
You know? Yeah, somewhat. I mean, I don't think that
we didn't know it was as bad
in terms of the tenants.
In the terms of the tenants.
I mean, we knew from a renovation standpoint what we were facing.
Yes.
But the tenant base was something else after we actually acquired it. I mean, it was, you know, it went from a seemingly quiet community. Of course, we knew that there were some issues.
Yeah.
But seemingly quiet to just this loud, you know, just cowbell, you know, it's just, that's constantly, you know, it's like your neighbor's just beating the cowbell just 24 hours a day. There's just always something going on over there.
Well, the big challenge there was the amount of communication coming from our apartment building, going to the realtors. Like, we had one lady that would call them 2 or 3 times every day.
Yeah, but I think our tenants at that point, of course, they know what's going on.
Sure.
You know, they know exactly what's going on. But I believe at that point, this, for a lot of them, was an opportunity to wiggle out of paying some rent or catching up or whatever it was. I think this was their opportunity to start, you know, forcing someone else to make repairs, which we were going to do anyway.
Yeah.
And we're doing, but this was their way to kind of test the boundaries.
Oh, yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Like a bunch of kids down there, you know, like, look, I can walk all the way over here and you're not going to say anything. But so to answer your question really was I had to just go down there and start really talking to the people and find out what was going on. So I just went door to door down at these apartments. And I kind of heard the same story over and over again, which is what you were just talking about. Well, we didn't know who to pay, so we're not paying anybody. You know, I said, okay, great. And the first time I went and did that, out of the 25 or so people that were residents there, I won't say, you know, active tenants that were paying or anything because they weren't. I had one guy actually pay something. One.
I remember that.
One person.
You called me and were like, we got to check. Hey, but let's take a quick break and come back.
Yes, let's do.
Hi, this is Sammy with Sammy Hadid Real Estate Keller Williams. Are you looking for a top producing agent who will look out for your best interests? Top dollar on the sale of your home, a well-negotiated contract, an efficient closing? Please call me at 305-978-4249. I'm more than happy to set up a consultation. I'll put together a proposal for you to net top dollar for your home, what it is that I'm doing to get all my homes sold. Then you can decide what's best for you. Again, I'll do whatever it takes to get your home sold for top dollar, and I promise you that I will protect your equity with my life. 305-978-4249. Sammy Hadid, Hadid.
All right, we are back. And thanks for hanging out with us. Appreciate you guys listening. So, Steve, we're talking about operating and what it means to actually be an operator, some of the pitfalls. And, you know, we're giving probably the best example of the worst possible scenario.
Most likely.
Right.
I mean, there may be something worse, but I haven't encountered it because at this property we had confused tenants. We had management companies that had 2 of them that had quit. So they kind of sort of really didn't know who to pay, really.
Yeah. Plus, there was a lot of mismanagement on the property already.
Tons of mismanagement from the previous owners, you know, deferred maintenance, you know, anything and everything you can imagine is a problem, all the way from malfunctioning appliances to rats.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it was challenging, very challenging.
I got to touch on this for a second, okay?
Yes.
Because that's something that was totally unforeseen.
Yes.
Okay,
Which thing?
The rats.
Yes, it was.
So this is something you guys have to really be. You got to be okay with the unknown. You know, you can't freak out. You just have to deal with it, right? This was a situation where every apartment complex that you go to, you're always going to see that they treat for rodents. You know, they've got those little black boxes out there. You know, it's a preventative thing. And this particular property had an infestation of bees because the bushes were so overgrown, and that's what we focused on. Our focus was on getting rid of those bees.
Oh, there's some are back, so I'm just letting you know.
Yeah.
You know, and I've got it documented on air.
Absolutely. But that was the biggest thing. So as the weather changed, rats literally came. I mean, it was biblical, truly biblical.
I have not seen one yet, so I'm taking your word for it.
Oh my goodness, they were all over the buildings.
Oh my God.
I mean, they were in the ceiling, they were in the walls, they were absolutely everywhere. They were outside. Now I don't know, rat culture, but
Okay.
I do know that when it gets cold, everything wants to be warm, right? So it got cold and they went straight to the building. So it forced us to obviously handle this issue. We had tenants calling us. I mean, I can give you some pretty ugly scenarios, things that happened to our tenants.
Several of those calls. Too,
Yes, absolutely. Ooh. But, it was our job to hurry up and get pest control out there to, eradicate this issue, which is an ongoing thing. But now, for the most part, it seems to be under control, although we still have, work to do.
A couple more months of getting that stuff under control.
Yeah, it'll take a couple more months. It's not an overnight thing, but it was literally biblical because they came out of nowhere, seemingly, and they were just there.
Yeah, man. Oh, my God.
I mean, just think of the movie, any movie, with a lot of them running around.
Willard, whatever.
It was pretty yucky, but it was unexpected.
Yeah.
It was an unexpected expense. It's just everything about it was unexpected. And you cannot have people living in conditions like that. So you've got to bust your hump to get that rectified as soon as possible. Literally by any means necessary. Because Absolutely. It was biblical. And I am not exaggerating.
Was it biblical?
It was biblical. It was a plague. It was a plague.
Oh my God. Well, the other thing that surprised me at that particular building was the 14 or 15-year-olds with pistols.
Yeah, but you're going to have, that is because of poor screening from the previous owner. And it turned into a situation where it's now our responsibility to find ways to get rid of them. And you have to get rid of them. I don't mean to make it, I do mean to make it sound that harsh because they have to go.
They have to go.
Right.
Man.
They have to go. You can't have that kind of activity.
Yeah.
No one wants to be around that. No one wants to be around stuff like that. And this particular situation with this particular family was obviously something that the owner, they could not have gone through these people's
They
background.
probably didn't do any screening.
No, none whatsoever.
Previous owners,
none
just
whatsoever.
collected some money, and that was it.
But then it was our responsibility at that point to go through the legal motions to get them out, writing the letters, giving them the warnings, waiting the time. And it didn't hurt that they
didn't pay their rent.
You know what I'm saying?
right.
That kind of expedited everything.
Yeah.
But it just made it easier for us to get rid of them, and their own choices in their life really were what pushed them out.
Yes.
But we've got to watch for those things as operators. And when we have to listen to our tenants, we have to pay attention to what's going on our properties. And the larger you get as an operator, you're not going to be able to be at those properties. So you're going to have people, boots on the ground that you trust, whether it's a property management company, whether it's a maintenance person that's on, somebody that's on site. And you're always going to have the lady who knows everything that's going on.
Oh, that's
over there, right? I mean, it's always
Mrs. Kravitz.
Yeah. You're going to have
Bewitched.
You're going to have her. Can't put anything better. There's something going on over there. I don't know what it is, but we need that. We really do. Those are the kind of people that help. Even though we joke about people like that, the nosy neighbor, but those are the kind of people that really help communities thrive and be safe.
Right.
So I don't mind it at all. I probably would if I was the recipient of the nosiness.
Well, yeah, that's true. But, we have one guy there in that particular property that keeps me informed.
Yeah.
He's also
somewhat
of our maintenance guy now.
Yeah.
As I've gotten to know him, by the way, he's the guy that paid me on that first trip. He's the only one.
Yeah.
His girlfriend, wife, or whatever was just mouthing off totally, 100% for like 30 minutes. And so I'm standing there just, listening to this. And then he said, "No, just wait a minute. This man's here to collect the rent. That's what he's here for." And I said, I'm just here to find out who's going to pay the rent and who wants to stay here and who wants to go.
Yeah.
That's it, And he said, "Well, we want to stay, and we can give you this amount right now." And I said, "Fine, let's do that." And I went around to the whole place, and most of it was, "No, we don't know who you are, and we're not doing anything." I said, "Okay, great.
Yep.
That's all I need to know."
Yep.
So now I can go do what I do next, which is write a letter and then file a dispossessory. And
That's
then,
right.
It's amazing. I've been at this for now about 6 weeks. And people are calling me saying, "Mr. Steve,
Yeah.
Yeah. What do we need to do to stay here?" Because they've seen people with U-Hauls backed up and moving it out.
That's right.
Because they have to.
That's right. That's right.
It's either that or the sheriff is going to be there with the team, and we're going to be putting
And those
stuff.
sheriffs literally throw it in the courtyard.
Oh, totally.
Throw their stuff right in the courtyard.
Absolutely.
So
and I want it. I don't want it in the courtyard. So I'm going to bring our own team. We're going to move it all the way out to the curb.
That's right.
Which is where it needs to be. And but yeah, it's kind of coming around in pretty quick, actually.
So that brings up another question.
Yeah.
So in interviewing the property management companies,
yes,
the property management companies had their own way of doing business, their recommendations of how to do business in this particular community, telling us that there are things that we have to do, that we have to accept in order to maintain a certain level of occupancy in that property. And from my experience, that's just not the case.
Are you talking about maybe being a little lenient when it comes to collection of rents?
Yes.
That's true. That's what at least one of our property managers was saying that we should do. And I kind of agreed with him at first, but now that I'm actually doing it, I don't agree with that at all.
Absolutely, because we're looking at the people on a regular basis.
Yes.
And we see their ability to pay.
Right.
And we see the ones that are unwilling to pay. And it's the ones that are unwilling to pay that want to piece you your rent. And every time you accept it, every time you accept a partial payment, the clock starts over.
Right.
In terms of when it's time to get to file the dispossessory. Right? So
if you accept the payment during the dispossessory, then you have to refile.
Well, even if they're late, if their rent is $500 and they give you a check for $200 today, on the 15th, right, let's say, well, you can't do anything until the 16th of next month.
Oh no, that's not true.
Okay.
No, I was talking to our attorney down there, and he said you can get, all you have to do is give them notice,
right,
and then you can go file the dispossessory the next day. The next day.
That's amazing.
That is amazing.
It is.
And I said, "What does that notice mean?" He said, "Well, it can be verbal, it can be written, it can be anything you want it to be."
And you know what? You bring up another great point.
Yeah.
That point is understand the legal parameters around what it is you're doing.
Yeah.
Because how things are in one city or county
are different.
Are totally different. It's not like a statewide law. Certain things are, but certain things aren't. So it's important for you as an operator to understand what your rights are and how you need to operate.
And this was great information for me, because now I feel like can be a little more flexible with the tenants, and so I'm put together a plan for one yesterday. I said, "What can you do now?" And they said, we can do 400 now and 400 a week until we get caught up. So I can say yes to that, and knowing that if they don't follow through, the minute they don't follow through, I can call them and say, "Hey, you're not following through," and write that down and keep a log and file dispossessory the next day.
Yeah.
I'm not likely to do that, but if they're putting forth a great effort like that, then I'm going to say, "Okay, what do we do now?"
Yeah.
And go from there,
So, but getting back to the initial point, the information that we received, or not the information, but the recommendations,
Right.
in terms of how we should operate, that we received, really don't look like it's not
It's
viable.
a matter of priorities for our tenants, and we want our rent payment to us to be their number one priority.
And screening is going to help us with that.
It will help us a ton if living there is important to them.
Amen to that. But let's take a break on that note. All right.
Hey, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. If it is, call us. I'm Scott with 5 Star Services. We do home renovations from your rooftop all the way down to the ground. Interior, exterior, it doesn't matter. We do it all. Give us a call. You can reach us at 404-348-2348. That's 404-348-2348. Or you can get us online at www.5starservicesatlanta.com. Give us a call. Estimates are free. We'll be happy to take a look at what you have. This time of year, we're getting a lot of roof activity because of all the rain, but we can handle, like I said, anything from the roof down. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. But if it is, call us. I'm Scott Bowen with 5 Star Services. Thanks.
Welcome back, Real Estate 360 show, where we take you from this show to the pro.
Every day.
Yeah. So we're just laughing, having a good time here in the studio, and talking about tenant issues and all that kind of thing.
Yeah, the operations factor of the multifamily space is important. I mean, it is one thing to underwrite the deals. That's obviously very important. It is another thing to be an effective operator.
Right.
You are not a landlord, you are an operator. And even with this particular property that we're talking about now, this is a temporary situation for you.
Absolutely, it's going to be temporary.
Right.
No.
This is all a matter of straightening out all the problems. We get rid of all of the quote unquote bad eggs, and we're leasing it up with tenants that are qualified at the increased rent value as we're doing those renovations. And we're doing this particular property as a 3-building property.
Right.
So we have 24 units, the first building that we're cleaning up, renovating, and putting new tenants in.
Yeah, we've done major plumbing over there because, if it's not going out, there's no point in fixing the units.
That's right.
If you know what I'm talking about. So the drain lines were bad shape. So we've done that. Now we're working on refreshing the units and then redoing a number of those.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And
all that means higher rent.
That's right.
And that's the whole name of this game.
That's right.
Really.
And we'll be able to, in short time, maybe by the end of the month, put property management over that building as we move into, the second building to get that done. And what we've learned from our tenant base is exactly how we need to operate with them. So that's something that we make sure our property management partner clearly understands. Because the recommendations, even though the recommendations that they gave us weren't the best, they're probably the best qualified company in that area for us to work with. But because of what you've done and set parameters for the tenants, set a clear understanding of what's going to have to happen and how, and they're operating that way. And everyone that's new that's coming in is going to operate under those same terms.
And when they understand what we want, it makes it easy for them to do that.
That's right.
So I sat down with this latest tenant, and I said, we're pretty easy to work with on pretty much everything except for one thing, and that is the rent payment. The rent is due on the 1st, and there's a grace period in there for whatever mailing, for till the 5th. On the 6th, we're going to charge you 10%. That's $50. If you want to, we don't really want that. We want you to pay on the 1st. And if you don't pay by the 10th, we're going to go file a dispossessory. It's going to be that, just like that.
Yep, cut and dry.
Yes.
Just cut and dry.
And she said, well, I get it. As a matter of fact, I'm going to do this, this, and this. She said, and I, I like to know what's in their mind for the future. So I said, can you afford this?
Mm-hmm.
I just asked her, I said, can you afford this place? She said, oh, yeah. She said, I'm going to be getting a tax refund check back in January, and I'm going to be paying you 6 months in advance.
Yeah. And you know what? That in some of the places that we're buying and renting, or anyone, you can't go by that old rule of thumb, 3 times the rent.
No.
You got to earn 3 times the rent, 3 times the rent, even when you come down to a $500 or $600 price point, because of who you're renting to. Okay? You're not renting to, the office professional, right? At $500 or $600 a month in a, C- building.
Right. No.
Right. So you're not. So you have to be cognizant of that. I mean, the vast majority of the people that are staying in those places are either going to be retired, living on a fixed income, a very moderate fixed income, or they're working jobs that are low paying, part-time employees at McDonald's or, whatever the case. I mean, that's who our tenant base is in those properties. So we have to keep that in mind. I mean, these folks may only make $300 a week, and gross,
right,
in a lot of cases.
Yeah.
So, you have to take into account what they earn, but it can't be 3 times. So it really, again, it boils all the way down to your screening process and the criteria that you set forth. You lay this criteria down and say, okay, maybe you only want them to make twice the rent. I understand why places want 3 times the rent. I get it. And you're saying that, well, $500, I mean, $1,500, they should be able to do that. People would be surprised at the number of people that are living well under the poverty line.
I know, it's amazing.
And when you look at it for one individual, for one human being, that number is staggeringly low. But then when you couple that with the fact that this one human may have a child or two.
Right.
The poverty line, I mean, it is a real situation. And we all know about the difficulty today with affordable housing. What they call affordable housing, it's not really affordable housing. What they call workforce housing, you have chefs and waiters and waitresses and secretaries and, lawyers and all these different type of professions that are renting out these A and B class buildings, units, paying enormous amounts of money to live there.
Right.
Right? That's technically a working force, but that's the upper end of the working force. You
it's
still
not the Walmart greeters.
Exactly.
6, 7, 8. I don't know what they pay. $8 an hour.
I drove by a Wendy's and they were advertising $9.50 an hour.
Yeah.
And a big sign. I think that's a good thing. I don't know, but I mean, even at 40 hours a week,
that's $1,600 a month.
Not
roughly.
Even.
Yeah. No, exactly.
Then that's the gross.
That's right. Yeah.
And then they're going to take taxes, which at that point I think is somewhere around 18%, 16, 18%, somewhere in there of that number.
Yeah.
So we're talking about bringing home, $1,300.
Yeah. That's right.
That's take home. So you've got to travel, pay utilities, rent, food.
Yeah.
And if you have children,
you're done.
I mean, you're living on a very, very tight budget. So the point I'm trying to make there is, affordable housing is extremely significant all around the country.
Yeah.
And one of the things that we're doing is we're buying C-class buildings and we're creating communities that can afford to live in a decent place. It's not going to have granite countertops.
No.
It's not going to have, hardwood floors.
But we might have an executive lighting package.
Yeah.
That we can put in there.
That's right. The builder's grade.
That's right.
But it's quality living for what it is.
Yeah.
And
we want to provide, a nice, clean, safe, rat-free environment for people to live in and be happy to pull up to and know that when they walk in, their appliances work, their heaters work, and everything. They're safe and they're unencumbered that way,
That's right.
mentally.
That's right. But it goes back to how we want to operate and how we want to do our business. Not even how we want to be perceived by the tenants. We want them to know that we're coming in and changing things for the better.
Yeah.
We want them to know that we're here for them to address their issues and concerns. And once we work through all of that, like we stated earlier, it is a very clear line. It's very clear in terms of what we want and what they expect.
And we're not a government housing opportunity.
Correct.
We're just not, and we don't really have. It's a business.
Yeah.
That's it. It's just a business for us. We're going to do it in a very professional way, so the tenants benefit.
That's correct.
And so we need to benefit from just doing what they said they would do, which is pay the rent. That's it.
Right.
That's all we want to do.
That's all we want to do.
Keep it simple.
And if you just do that and operate from a common sense perspective,
yeah.
But you also have to keep the law in mind because sometimes the two don't coincide with one another.
Right.
But be a human. Just be a human and say, listen, if I was living here, what would I want or what would I not want?
Yeah.
And then you just go from there and you start providing those things, and you can't go overboard either. We've seen that as well. We've seen people over renovate. We've seen people spend entirely too much money on certain things. You simply cannot do that.
We were kind of sort of thinking about doing that at this particular property. A little bit overboard.
A little bit, slightly.
Yeah.
Slightly. But it was hard not to look at that and say, all right,
yeah,
we kind of got to do something here.
I know.
Let's offer something. But you'd be surprised at what you can offer.
Yeah.
People, because they were paying to live in absolutely deplorable conditions before we bought it.
Yeah.
And they were paying to live there. Well, some of them were.
Right,
paying.
some of them.
Some of them were. And that's just what it takes, man. We want to make sure that we're providing a good opportunity for them to do what they need to do. But as an operator, Steve, you have learned in a very short period of time how to clean up a mess.
Yeah.
How to record that mess and set processes in place that you can now dictate to whoever is hired to be that manager in the coming months.
I've really learned a lot, and I have an understanding that I didn't have 6-8 weeks ago, really, and just listening to the people, and like you said, doing common sense stuff. I'm thinking, okay, let's give them a little bit of the benefit of the doubt. We all know, they're trying to scoot on not paying some rent. I get that, but I say, okay, look, let's just straighten things out. This is how much you owe. I'm not going to charge you a late fee, but January 1st, things are going to be different.
That's right. Now, listen, January 18th, you got to go. You got to come and check us out.
Yes.
Go to realestate360show.com. Get to the event. You're not going to want to miss it. Check us out on Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, and communicate with us. Subscribe, like, love. We'll talk to you guys next week. See you later, Steve.